Hello world, Dano here, stacking paper as always, and today we are doing a review of Terry Pratchett's Jingo, a Discworld novel. I don't know what number, there's a lot of them. But this is the fourth book in the City Watch storyline. In my opinion, the best storyline of Discworld. Mostly because the characters they're so good. The Watch has this dynamic between them that is pretty unique amongst Discworld, because most of Discworld follows like a singular protagonist that will kind of interact with other characters, but the Watch, even though Sam Vimes is the main character, it's really, you're always following the group as a whole, and watching them interact with each other is it's just so funny. I will say this is one of the weaker, it's definitely the weakest Watch book, and it's definitely one of the weaker Discworld books in general, unfortunately. It did get redeemed for me near the end, but it's just the beginning is so slow. It really takes a long time to get going. It's only like 2/3 through that it starts kind of picking up. The ending is incredible, though. I'll say that. I don't even know how much spoilers I'm going to give this one. I think I might keep it kind of vague. But essentially the plot of Jingo is there's this island that comes up from out of the sea, and it's like an ancient island of Leship, and this is supposed to be like Atlantis, and it pops up directly in between Ankh-Morpork and Klatch. Now Klatch is like the Discworld's Middle Eastern country. It's all very, very like Islamically inspired, I guess you could say. Like for example, like the main antagonist for most of the story is a character named 71 Hour Ahmed. And I will say he really grows on you. I actually really like that character a lot. But the main conflict is this island comes up in the middle, and these countries both lay claim to it, and they both kind of start gearing up for war seemingly out of nowhere. This story is pretty much all about xenophobia and how easy it is for people to get riled up into hating other people for pretty much no reason. One of the best mechanics in it, I'll say, is that there are Klatchians who live within Ankh-Morpork, because Ankh-Morpork is like this big multicultural, it's like the New York City, of Discworld. So, yeah, there's this scene where there's Klatchians that get kicked out of Ankh-Morpork, and later on they're part of the army of Klatch when they're fighting, and they meet them, and he's like, hey, like, I don't even want to be fighting you guys, like, this is ridiculous. And yeah, so like the main following is you have the majority of the Watch who are on this boat chasing after Ahmed, after the Klatchian prince gets killed on Ankh-Morpork soil during like a diplomatic meeting. And obviously they're trying to blame it on the Ankh-Morporkians to cause this war, And you think it's Ahmed for most of the story, but it does turn out to be very different. Ahmed and Vimes are really cut from the same cloth. They find out that they are, I guess, the personal dogs of their respective leaders, which is framed really well by the end of the book with Vimes going on the chase, so to speak, and literally kind of accepting his role. Because the funny thing about Sam Vimes is at the end of every Discworld book that he's in, every Watch book, he's continuously getting promoted, and he keeps getting more and more responsibility, but he doesn't want it. However, Vetinari, man, I love Vetinari. He has to be the best character in all of Discworld. Because he knows how things are supposed to work and how to run things, and he understands the competence and merit when he sees it. And it kind of instills in Vimes, listen, I know you don't want any of this, but unfortunately, you are one of the most competent people. You're the only person who can do this job, and you should accept that and not just leave it to, the schmucks who else are in office. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But anyways, so you have Sam, Carrot, Angua, Reg, a couple of guys. They're chasing Ahmed back to Klatch. And then also, the best part of the book is you have Nobby, Colin, Leonard of Quirm, a.k.a. Da Vinci, and Vetinari in a submarine doing kind of their own little side mission. And man, this is why I love Discworld, is even in a book that's not that good, like this one, I'll be honest, the plot is kind of whatever and it's slow moving, but the comedy and the little moments are so funny that it doesn't matter. Like there's a couple lines during that whole exchange between them that I'll always remember. Like, you're about as clever as an inflatable dartboard. I'm going to use that for the rest of my life. And also there's a moment. So the reason Vetinari chooses Colin and Nobby is because they're so dumb that they'll just go along with whatever. And there's even a point where Colin overhears Vetinari saying that to Leonard, and Colin just completely dismisses that it's him and goes, wow, I'd hate to be those guys. But he also says something to Vetinari that is so absurdly stupid that Vetinari just looks at him and he goes, wow, thank you, Sergeant. I don't think I'll ever forget that for the rest of my life. And Colin thinks, wow, because I must have said something so profound that Vetinari will remember it. When really, it's like a form of dramatic irony because the audience realizes he just said something so profoundly stupid that Vetinari will never forget it. So it's just like all these little moments. And then you have Knobs cross-dressing and intimidating the men because he makes such an ugly woman that he threatens to kiss them and they'll just do whatever they can if it means not getting hit on by him. And then he gets in with the women and like, oh man, there's a lot of really good moments, especially near the end, that are really good. And the final resolution with Carrot just being the best lad ever, having the most kingly qualities, but choosing to serve under Sam no matter what, and single-handedly stopping a massive war and a massacre. Like, that's another thing, is like these armies are coming at each other, and the Ankh-Morporkians are so not ready. And the Klatchians are kind of just like, these guys must be joking. They're pathetic. But because Carrot is just such a goon, it's really Carrot, Sam, and Ahmed that stop it, but Carrot is the real hero because he just gets everybody to, instead of having a war, just playing a massive game of rugby. Like, come on. And only Carrot can pull that off. They managed to arrest an entire army, and it's so ridiculous, but it just works, you know? So in general, I still think I'll give this book, I was going to say 7, but it's really like 6.57, like a soft 7. Because the ending is good, and obviously the dialogue and prose and the comedy is amazing. It's really just, it doesn't have as good of a plot as, you know, a lot of the best Discworld books do. Because the best Discworld books have an amazing plot, and they're that funny, you know? This one, it kind of just gets by on the comedy and, you know, the small moments alone. But the overarching plot is weaker than most, I would say. But anyways, yeah. Until next time.